From Caracas, Venezuela, my name is Regan Nevins. This is From the South. We begin in Panama, where the former military leader Manuel Noriega died on Monday night at the age of 83 in the Santo Tomas hospital. His death follows a March 7th operation for a benign tumor in the Panamanian capital. Noriega was admitted with bleeding to the brain. After undergoing surgery, he remained in a critical condition until the time of his death. In 1989, the United States invaded Panama to remove its former ally. The U.S. Forces captured Noriega, and he spent most of the time of his life in jail in the United States. He also spent time in prison in France and was allowed to return to serve out his sentence in Panama in 2011.
He was an old man and he suffered a lot. He did some bad things, but he paid the price. What can you say? At least Noriega's time we had work, unlike now. It is known that the United States supposedly invaded Panama to capture Noriega, who was indicted by the US for his connections to drug cartels. But their real objective was to plant their flag on Panamanian soil in order to keep their policy of control in the region.
So who was Manuel Noriega? Well, he was a supporter of Panama's nationalist leader, Omar Torrijos. Noriega seized power in 1983 after Torrijos was killed in a plane crash. As Panama's military leader, it is alleged he worked for the CIA, channeling drug money from Colombia and Mexico to right-wing Contras fighting Nicaragua's Sandinista government. He later fell out with President George H.W. Bush, who ordered an invasion of Panama in 1989, which killed about 3,000 civilians. Noriega was taken to the United States, and in 1992, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison for drug trafficking. The members of CARICOM have reached a consensus on Venezuela. The Caribbean organization is calling for dialogue to address the political conflict in its South American neighbor. CARICOM will be sending a letter to OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro to outline concerns over the way he has dealt with the situation in Venezuela. On Wednesday, the OAS is to hold a meeting to discuss the country against the wishes of the government. And in Venezuela, Chavistas dance in the streets of the capital with a message of peace. Supporters of the ruling government are excited over the initial phase of the Constituent Assembly, which they believe will defend the rights of the people, peasants and workers. States are currently in the process of choosing their Constituent Assembly candidates. The Colombian government and the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, the FARC, have agreed to extend a deadline for guerrilla fighters to hand in their weapons by 20 days. According to President Juan Manuel Santos, logistical delays slowed parts of the group's demobilization process. Colombia and the FARC rebels signed a peace deal late last year to put an end to more than 52 years of war. Anti-narcotics police in Peru have seized more than 700 pounds of cocaine and arrested 6 suspected drug traffickers. They detained 3 Colombians and 3 Peruvians in Lima and Callao during an operation between May 25th and May 27th. Immigrants detained in the United States by the Immigrants and Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE, are likely to die at double the rate of last year, according to a study published by the Daily Beast. Executive orders signed by President Donald Trump have led to a sharp increase in the number of immigrants detained. 8 people have died since the current fiscal year began on October 1st of last year, including 1 man who killed himself after 19 years in solitary confinement. Families in Honduras have begun burying their relatives who died in a soccer stampede on Sunday. 4 people were killed when hundreds of fans tried to break past barricades to get into a national soccer final match. Police are investigating possible stadium overcapacity and the sale of counterfeit tickets for the match. More on